All right, AP Psych. This is, excuse me, just a kind of quick explanation of some of the brain imaging techniques for this screencast, but here's a quick warm up. If you want to answer them quickly, pause it now. So when you look at the first one was motor cortex responsible for and where is it at? It's going to control our voluntary muscle movements, so things that we choose to engage in, and it is going to be found in the frontal lobe. So your skeletal muscles, your somatic nervous system is working directly with your motor cortex. Next one, what is this? Somatosensory cortex. And what is it responsible for? Where is it located? Interpreting the senses of touch throughout the body, and that is going to be the parietal lobe. Occipital lobe, pretty simple. This will be a processing and interpreting our vision, so it's going to change the light waves into images. And then how is the teenage brain different from the adult brain? And again, this is generally speaking. Some teenagers are more mature than some of the adults. So majority of the time, teenagers are going to think primarily with the amygdala, impulsiveness and moody, overreaction. Adults think and process info with the frontal lobes, which is, again, your moral compass, which allows you to be a little more rational and probably less impulsive. And the reason why the amygdala is acting is receiving the information before the frontal lobe in teenagers, they lack the myelin sheath here. Like when your parents talk about someone who's more mature, or if you've ever had your parents praise one of your friends for being more mature, neuroscience would explain that the person who's more mature would have more myelin sheath in their frontal lobe. So, techniques to study the brain. So these are just ways we've studied the brain over the years. Obviously, they're going to get more advanced. The first one is what we call a lesion. And a lesion would just be like the surgical destruction of brain tissue. So when we first started studying the brain, they would take animals, like this is a rat's brain, and they would take out certain parts and see which behavior was missing. So since this is likely the back of the rat's brain where the occipital lobe would be, and let's say this is the right side, so that rat would not be able to see out of its left eye. So by doing so, now your psychologists, now the people who study the brain, know that the right occipital lobe controls the left eye. So it's basically just kind of like we pinpoint what's missing, we pinpoint what's not there by this lesioning. Now, lesioning today is not done purposefully. It's done more like something with Alzheimer's where the brain starts to deteriorate. It's almost like a natural lesion. So we would compare the healthy brain with the Alzheimer's brain. Then we would also know from our previous study of the brain, the memory part of the brain is starting to be destroyed or die, and then the language too. So that's why memory goes, and then the use of language. So Alzheimer's, things like that would be more of like a natural lesioning process instead of, say, doing it deliberately. Second one is an EEG. Basically what you see here, you have the electrodes on the scalp put on different parts of the brain, and all we would look to do is measure the brain's brain waves to see proper or improper function. So like someone with ADHD or some type of hyperactivity disorder, they may look at the brain and see that the brain waves, there's much more activity, or there's almost too much activity. Or, for example, they wanted to see a child is having trouble with memory in school. And then they start to notice that the hippocampus is not producing the proper brain waves, then they would have the idea that the hippocampus is not functioning properly. Next one, we have a PET scan. It's going to similar look to like an MRI, but what they're going to do, they're going to inject you with a radioactive form of glucose. It's not harmful, but what it's going to do, it's going to allow the psychologist and the neurologist to see the function of the brain. Because the brain, every time you think, you burn glucose. So by putting this glucose in the brain, they can then see the brain functioning. So what you would see here It's like, here's the PET scan of a normal brain, and then here's the PET scan of a schizo brain. So notice that red, there's a lot of activity there. So most likely, this schizophrenic patient suffers from visual delusions or visual hallucinations. Notice also here you have your frontal cortex that has a lot of decrease in activity. So now there's nothing to stop the brain from saying you're seeing something that's not there. And so the patient truly believes that they're hallucinating and seeing things. Same thing with the Alzheimer's brain. The green, the blue, those are less active. The white, the red, the yellow, those are more active. So you can see just the overall decrease in function or activity of the brain. That just shows that it's deteriorating. MRI, most of us are probably more familiar with this. The big thing with MRI, they're just going to use magnetic fields and radio waves to get proper computer-generated images of the brain. Main thing we're going to do here is we're just going to try to distinguish among the different types of brain tissue and structure. So we're only using to see structure damage. Like if you had a concussion, what they would look at in your MRI, they look for like dots. And they would be like black. And what that would show is that the brain has actually suffered some type of damage or that their brain is even bleeding itself. So then we can obviously diagnose with a concussion. The last one, the fMRI, stands for your functional magnetic resonance imaging, which is basically an MRI that you can see function. And so this is going to measure changes in blood flow. So we don't have to inject some form of radioactive glucose. And what we would see here, the blue is the blood is leaving, and the red, the blood is moving. So this person's probably, in the MRI, they played an audio clip for them, and now they just switched it to a visual clip. Because now, when you're using your eyes, not your ears, that blood flow can be transferred from the temporal lobes to the occipital lobes, so now you can process it. A couple things to be aware of. Obviously, you want to know how each works, like PET scan burns glucose. EEG scan measures brain waves. fMRI measures activity and blood flow changes. So those three are big ways we see activity in the brain. And MRI only is only going to show structure. So structural damage, activity dysfunctions here. And that is it.